Right, everyone, welcome to the End the Stigma podcast with me, Paul Garrigan from PACT Mantality, Jay Wheeler from Don't Walk in Silence, and he's also a mental health professional. And we've got a very special guest on today. It is the one and only Martin Bone. He's a very, very dear friend of mine, and he's making major waves in this city and changing people's lives. So, thank you for joining us, Martin.
What's happening, Paul? You're right, Jay?
It's
right.
How are we, brother?
I'm good, you know.
Good,
yeah,
good.
I was a little bit tired before. It's Friday afternoon, and it's been a big week for me. Got a big weekend ahead, and I think I've been sitting in the sun for a couple of hours, and I actually like having a couple of beers on a Friday, you know, just sort of end of the week. So I felt a bit sleepy, about half an hour ago, but I feel fresh, feel ready to go. Looking forward to the podcast, you know.
It's right, brother.
I know this is the first one for you, so yeah. Good luck.
Thank you. Nice one, mate. But honestly, mate, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
No one had that on me first. Okay, boss. So we'll have a little check-in, Jay, as well with you. What's been happening, mate?
Obviously, on Tuesday, we were down at Sunset Meditation, weren't we?
Yeah.
Got up and spoke and told people about my journey and that day, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then obviously doing with the work with the Don't Walk in Silence, doing one-to-ones with people and helping people who were struggling with either addiction and the mental health and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, you're an experienced mental health professional,
yeah,
aren't you, mate?
13, 14 years, mate.
Yeah.
Fortunately or unfortunately.
Right in there.
Yeah.
Boss. Okay. So, Martin, let's get right in there with you, brother.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, we all know you as the Scouse guru, you know what I mean? The meditation master, the Scouse Jesus. Yeah. I love to get that one in, mate. But seriously, like, no one knows your journey, so I'd just love to dive in there to like your earlier years, if you like, and let's just see where it goes from there. Let's flow with it, brother.
Okay. So, early years, I suppose, if I take this back to childhood, really. I'm one of two. I've got a brother, you know, my brother Jordan, and I'm the eldest. And I was actually born on County Road. My mum and dad are both from the north, and so I was born on County Road and lived there only for a couple of years. I was only there for a couple of years, and my dad ended up. My mum actually found in the paper an advertisement for some land in Bowring Park in the south, and my dad was a joiner at the time. So they went and viewed the land. They got the land. It was 2 plots, and my dad actually built our house. You know, him and a couple of friends. We built a house in Keswick Way, in Bowring Park in L16. So we moved there, and that was sort of where I started to remember. You know, when I look back, that's been my home. That's been the family home, and I was there for about 28 years. I didn't move out of there. In fact, I was there for 30 years. I didn't move out of there till I was about 32. My circumstances changed over a period of time. But I was very blessed, you know, to have been brought up in a loving household. You know, my mum and dad were happily married. I went to a really wonderful school around the corner called St. Paschal Baylon, a Catholic school. And even the area of Bowring Park, you know, there was a lot of people around that area, a lot of good people, a lot of children as well. You know, I was always playing out. You know what I mean? I was hardly ever in. You know, I was always playing out on the streets. You know, with kids of similar age and kids that were older than me as well. I was always hanging around with kids older than me. And so I had a very, very happy childhood. You know, when I look back. Paschal Baylon was a beautiful school, and but it was run by a headmaster who was, for me, he was ahead of his time. Mr. Semple, his name was Colin Semple, and he was a pioneer, this fella, but he was a disciplinarian. You know what I mean? He was a solid man, and a lot of people were frightened of him, to be fair, but he just had a solid work ethic, and there was definitely an old school vibration, you know, that he brought into the school, and that ran down through the teachers. And I think I was blessed to you know, I can remember almost every year that I was in Pascal Bailon, and I remember all the teachers well, and I remember all the children that I went to school with. It was a very sporty school as well. They were very good at football, and you know, I was blessed to, you know, play for the football team there, and there was a lot of athletics as well. And I also got into tennis, you know, not actually through one of the teachers in the school, Mr. O'Keefe, Tim O'Keefe, he was another lovely teacher and someone who inspired me over a period of time. And so childhood for me was great. I had a great school, great upbringing, and yeah, just was always out, you know what I mean, on the streets, riding bikes, playing on computer games. You know, back then it was like, you know, it was the Nintendo, you know what I mean, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Mega Drive, and for many years it was just a very, very happy childhood. Yeah, you know, you get in, you know, you get up to all kinds, you know what I mean. I think for me, you know, I was always seeking a bit of danger. Do you know what I mean? I always like, you know, you'd always be egging Windsors, or you know, you'd be looking, you know, you'd be looking for a fight, you know, looking for a fight. You're there, and you know, or just looking for a legger, do you know what I mean? Or messing around on the golf course, or setting fires, you know what I mean? And smoking ciggies, and you know, and then, you know, you were getting into like kissing girls and all that, you know what I mean? And I was always hanging around with people a little bit older than me, so, you know, I was probably 8 or 9 and 10, but I was hanging around with the 13, 14-year-olds, you know what I mean? So, but I felt very comfortable in that environment, you know what I mean? Felt like I could hold my own, and I was always up for stuff, you know what I mean? I was always a bit of a, you know, let's try this. I was definitely up for just having fun. And then fast forward, I went to SFX. Yeah. You know, so it was an all boys school, and again, it was a great period of time in my life. You know, I quickly made a lot of beautiful friends and lads who I'm still friends with today.
Yeah. So what was that like for you then, being in an all boys school?
You know what? I loved it. You know what I mean?
A lot of competition and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Like, obviously, I think, you know, I remember. It was initiating straight away, because, you know, you'd gone from this sort of primary school, which was, you know, it was soft and it was nice and it was pretty magical, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you turn 11, 12, you know what I mean? 10, 11, 12. And then, you know, you're in this secondary school, and, you know, the school was actually split up at the time. So, you know, you had first and second year on the 5 ways, and then you had, you know, year 3, 4 and 5 and year 6. And they were up in Woolton, and it was called Highley at the time. And you'd only ever get up to Highley, like, you know, we'd have like a Monday afternoon, like it was a full afternoon after dinner. We'd all get up on the buses, and you'd go up to Highley, and you were, for me, it was felt you were just around men. Yeah. You know what I mean? Lads who were like, you know, 15, 16. And
which we loved that though, don't we?
Absolutely,
like, I found that me happiest when I'm around all the boys, you know what I mean? You're having a great time, aren't you?
It was, and it was great, because I'd met a lot of, you know, it was an opportunity to meet a lot of different lads, do you know what I mean? And they were all from all over Liverpool, you know, Aylwood, Wavertree, you know, Smithdown Road, Chilwell. And so my circle of friends expanded. And certainly being in an all-boys school and a secondary one at that, I mean, I wasn't really interested in girls at the time, you know what I mean? I think I was interested in just having a laugh, you know what I mean, having fun. You know, and I was certainly the clown, you know, in school. I was in one of the top grades, but I think everyone just wanted to have a buzz, you know what I mean? It was sporty. Yeah. Everyone was taking the piss out of each other. But I remember very early on, like, you know, there was like a fight in the Blackwoods. Yeah. I remember watching these two lads, and they were clearly in sixth form. And it was just like nothing I'd ever seen before, and it was initiating for me. It was incredibly scary. Yeah. Because I watched two lads batter fuck out of each other. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like 11. Yeah. And you know, you're watching two 15, 16-year-olds who could bash, and you're like, oh, and there's blood everywhere, and you're like, bloody hell. So it was initiating at the time, and almost like it was like, right, you got to step up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? You know, you're in with the big boys here. Yeah. But SFX, again, a great school. I loved school, to be honest. Yeah. You know what I mean? I loved going. I loved the buzz. And I think congruent to going to school, you know, my home life was boss, you know what I mean? I played a lot of tennis at the time. I really got into a lot of tennis. So, you know, I'd come home from SFX, and my mum would take me up to Wavertree Tennis Centre. And so I was around men there, do you know what I mean? You know, at the time, tennis in Liverpool was huge. It was massive. and there was a tennis program, Liverpool tennis program in the tennis centre itself, run by a guy called Dave Sims, and he's still going now. And there was a lot of male influences, tennis coaches. You know, there was, you know, probably a dozen good male tennis coaches, a couple of females as well. So I was either obviously in school. There'd be a couple of nights when, you know, after school I'd just be playing out. You know what I mean? Out on the bike, feeling into life, into nature a lot. You know what I mean? And if it was the winter, you'd be in playing computer games, and then you'd have the tennis. So for many years, it was just a good upbringing, and I was very fortunate. You know what I mean? Didn't really get into trouble that much. You know, I had a few sort of near misses, and then, you know, you'd have a few fights here and there.
Yeah, so you've had a few scraps and games.
Few scraps, you know, but not an heavy. Do you know what I mean? And I never brought any trouble to the door. You know what I mean?
Part of growing up, innit?
It was part of growing up, and you know, I think my dad also he worked locally. He worked for a company called Anglian Windows, and they were based up on the Five Ways. So I was always sort of hanging about round there as well. So I was always hanging around with people older than me.
And a lot of it men.
Yeah,
always,
a lot of them men. A lot of them, you know, there was a few women, especially my dad's office. There was some girls in there, some women. And I was always just hanging around with people older than me. So I was just getting onto things quick, do you know what I mean? And then, you know, fast forwards, I come out of school, I turned 16, and I started working for my dad in Anglian Windows. I was doing it, I was sort of doing telesales. Yeah. So all of a sudden, you know, you're ringing people up and you're trying to sell windows, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was 16. So I did that for about 18 months. And then within that period of time, you know, I started going to 051 then. You know what I mean? So you were in town. Yeah. And it was a Saturday night, and you were with your mates. And that was like that. It was all about the 05, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, and I went to Knowsley Community College, you know what I mean? I did a BTEC in sports science there. So then that was a whole new journey, you know. And I got a job in Marks and Spencer's to give me. There was like they used to have like internship sort of thing where they do like 6 month contracts, you know what I mean? And they pay you in cash and all that. So it was great for me because I'd work all day Friday because I was off college. I'd work all day Saturday. I'd literally go home, get changed on the bus. I'd go back into town, I'd go to 05, want to party all night, get out and go to Sunrise, get home, take a shower, and I'd go back to Marx's and do a shift on a Sunday. Used to pay double time at the time, and I was like 16, 17.
At this point then, so you've done your teenage years, you've looked up to a lot of men. Yeah. You know what I mean? You've been hanging about with a lot of men, a couple of women and stuff like that. So what were your male role models throughout your teens and then getting 16, 17, you know, towards the end of your teens, if you like?
So I think, like, I mean, my dad was always a male role model for me, you know what I mean? You know, my dad's, I've been raised by good people. Yeah. My dad is a solid fella. You know, he worked a lot. He demonstrated discipline, consistency, persistence, positivity. Always had a very good mental attitude. So he was certainly, you know, and he got that obviously from my granddad. Yeah. You know, his father, you know, same attitudes. Just solid old school, and that work ethic has been passed down to my brother and I, you know, and we certainly adopt that sort of high level of conduct on a daily basis with it, you know, with all of our, you know, it's not just with our professional endeavours. I was very fortunate because, again, you know, in the tennis arena there was men, you know what I mean, and they were solid, you know what I mean, good fellas, proper scousers, you know, and there was a lot of travel as well. You know, I got to travel. I mean, when I was 18, I got the opportunity to go and live in Texas for 3 months. And so that was initiating, and, you know, you were around older tennis men there, you know, tennis coaches. So I have to give thanks to the tennis world, you know, for really showing me the way and almost holding me hand through developing from being a boy, you know, going through my teenage years and then sort of stepping into manhood, especially when I went to Texas. Yeah. That was, you know, I'd been partying in the 05 for a couple of years from like 16 to 18. And, you know, as you do, I was just sort of living for the Saturday night. I think the people around me, the lads around me, they were my heroes, you know what I mean? The lads from school, and we were a family. Yeah. But then, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was thinking, do I go to university? I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think the obvious one was to maybe step into the tennis arena. Yeah. I've been playing tennis since I was about 5. So I was very familiar, you know, with the sport. I did millions of tennis balls even by the time I got to 18.
Yeah.
And then going to Texas, it was initiating, you know what I mean? Because it was the first time away from home.
Yeah.
So, you know, I spent 3 months away from home. I was with a dear friend of mine called Paul Freeman. And we were given a massive responsibility, you know what I mean? We were teaching, you know, like world-class juniors, you know.
Yeah.
But then on a weekend, you know, we had to hold space for adults.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm an 18-year-old lad and I'm teaching and it was all women as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you'd have all these women coming from all over America and we'd have to you'd have to entertain them, you know what I mean? So I just stepped into being able to entertain people, being able to connect to people. So I think with the roles and responsibilities that I was given, especially in Texas, allowed me to initiate a step up. And when I came back, I actually felt like a man. I felt like I'd changed, I'd shifted.
So you've been initiated.
I've been initiated.
You've had good male role models growing up, haven't you? The importance, we know and we all know in this room, is the importance of initiation for men.
Yeah.
And the importance of having the right role models, which is something we probably don't have a lot of sometimes.
I had a beautiful friend of mine, his name was Kenny Norton.
Yeah.
And again, you know, he always had me back, do you know what I mean? He seen me potential from very early on. I was a good tennis player. And he always took me under his wing, and you know, I haven't seen him for many years, but I love him and I always thank him, you know, sort of energetically. And when I came back from Texas, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and Kenny Norton was working in David Lloyd at the time, and I was I'd spent a little bit of time in a tennis shop. I was restringing tennis rackets and stuff, you know what I mean? I was playing a bit of tennis and I was sort of going out into town. But and I'd met my girlfriend at the time, Rianne, and then we went on a 10-year journey. But I was just given the opportunity to go to David Lloyd and work, and Kenny was like, come and have a go, come and do 3 months. He said, just how you get on, you know what I mean? I was there for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was that was and then another level up, because I'd stepped into a professional arena then.
Yeah.
You know, David Lloyd, you know, you're rubbing shoulders with professional people.
Yeah.
You know, and very quickly, I was probably within 6 months, I was the busiest tennis coach in there, do you know what I mean? And I was working 6 days a week. I was on the tennis court for 40 hours a week. You know, a lot of the lads were sort of going to uni and feeling into their life, and all of a sudden I was in a full-time job, earning great money as well.
Yeah.
And then I was then rubbing shoulders with you know, pathologists, doctors, property developers, you know, and you know, but also the thing with the David Lloyd Centre is, you know, you get a full range of men in there, do you know what I mean? You know, you get your sort of your gangster, but you also get your judge, do you know what I mean? And everyone's rubbing shoulders, everyone's in the sauna and they all know each other, do you know what I mean? And that was a great container for me, for me to grow up, you know what I mean? It was a great container because it allowed me to do what I love to do. I loved teaching tennis. I loved people, and I thrived in that job. I was very good at it, and I was connecting. Loved connecting to people, and I was very fortunate. You know, it was the diary was full, the money was flowing. I was going on a lovely journey with a girl called Rianne Sunderland, who's now married with 2 children. And yeah, it was just a 10-year journey, and within that sort of dynamic, I was just learning about myself, you know what I mean? I think I was inspired to be excellent on the tennis court, but I sort of was trying to take them attitudes and adopt them in life, you know what I mean? What does it mean to be excellent in the arena of life, not just in the sport arena? And probably for about 10 years, I just my initiation was not just in David Lloyd, but it was on the dance floor, really.
Yeah.
I was a party man, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was going to come to then, sort of thing, mate. So your late teens, your early 20s, you know, you're saying you're 10 years with your partner at the time. Like, what stuff was you getting up to in terms of the party lifestyle? What things was you doing? Was you getting involved in any fights, anything like that? Or was it just
did you come across anyone that sort of might have sent you on the wrong path at times?
Do you know what? I was we had a good circle of lads, do you know what I mean? All really good lads, and everyone wanted to see each other do well. You you know, we started going abroad, you know what I mean? So it was the typical Ibiza. You know, we went to Magaluf first, and then it was the typical, like, Ibiza. And then we went back to Ibiza every year for about 10 years, you know what I mean? And then, you know, obviously there was Vegas and there was Glastonbury. You know, we went to Glastonbury every year. And you know, what came with that was, like, obviously with the drink came the drugs, do you know what I mean? And it wasn't, you know what, it was cocaine, you know what I mean? It was ecstasy. And they were the sort of two picks, you know what I mean? I mean, nowadays there's all kinds, you know what I mean? But back then, that was sort of all that was available. Yeah. And so you go out, you're partying, you're clubbing, you know, you're having a few lines, you know, you're popping an ecstasy pill. And you're loving life, to be honest, you know what I mean? You know, you've got a pocket full of cash. Yeah. You know, you're having a buzz with the lads. Yeah. And we were lovers, we weren't fighters, you know what I mean? Like, we sort of kept ourselves to ourselves, and we just loved a good party, you know what I mean? And that was my life for 10 years. Yeah. You know, it really was. I was still obviously with Rianne, and we got to enjoy and thrive in a wonderful relationship, and we got to, you know, go on our own holidays and stuff like that. But then I got to, like, 27, and I mean, you know, through that time, I was always wanting to take risks, you know what I mean? So I was doing things off the tennis court, you know what I mean, to earn money. Yeah. And some of that was illegal, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, a sort of bit of a jack of the lads, you know what I mean? Yeah, and, you know, selling plasma TVs for a while, you know what I mean? And then, you know, I set up, like, a booze company with my dad. So we used to do, like, out of hours booze, you know what I mean? We used to do stuff like that. And you know, I did a few other things, you know what I mean, that I got into, and that actually got a bit heavy. Yeah. You know, I sort of, and it was a path that I didn't want to go down, and I sort of got swallowed up in it for a bit. And because you just get sort of attracted to the money, you know what I mean? You get attracted to the lifestyle. And I sort of went with that, but I always knew it was pulling on me morality, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you knew you weren't doing the right thing, but you were just getting pulled.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you know, going through your 20s, you know, you're trying to work out who you are, you know what I mean? And I was, you know, you get attached to self-image, and I think there's a natural, like, I mean, for me anyway, there's a natural competitive edge, you know what I mean? So you
especially in this city, mate. Absolutely. You know, in this city, it is an amazing city. Yeah. But it's also got the darker side. Absolutely. You know, we're competing against each other.
Everyone's
as men.
Just charging each other
people
up.
Selling drugs. Yeah. You walk down the road, you're snarling. You know what I mean?
It's like keeping up with the Joneses, isn't it?
That's it.
You know, people are spending all kinds of money on t-shirts, you know, and it's...
Don't get me wrong. You know, it was great at the time. You were in it. You know what I mean? You know, we were earning money. You know, like, we weren't like hurting anyone. You know what I mean? We're just keeping ourselves to ourselves. Yeah. Everyone had jobs. You know what I mean? But, you know, maybe dipping your toe into a few things which were illegal, bringing that extra cash in. And then just partying. But, you know, through your 20s, you're trying to work it all out. I was anyway, you know what I mean? I was trying to, I wanted to know who I was, wanted to know what it was all about. And I sort of got swept up in it. You know, you're in town, you're on the guest list for Garlands, for Kingdom, you know, you're high-fiving everyone, you're the man, aren't you, the boy, you know what I mean? And you're loving life. Yeah. You know, you're in the Mosquito, and I think a few of the lads who I was hanging around and floating around with, they had older brothers, you know what I mean, who were, like, you know, well-respected lads as well, you know what I mean? So, you know, you're floating with men then, you know what I mean? Men who were well-respected in Liverpool, and some dangerous men at that. Yeah. So, you know, you naturally, ego's getting stroked a little bit, you know what I mean? And, you know, I got to, like, 26, 27, and I was burnt. I was burnt out. I couldn't hit another tennis ball. I did millions of tennis balls, and I've been on the tennis court for many years, and I've been coaching for 10 years, and I couldn't walk properly. My hip was in dire straits. I was in a bad way. Yeah. And I think, like, the partying, you know, there was a sell-by date to that, you know what I mean? And I was...
So did the injury have anything to do with the partying, do you think? Stomping on the floor?
Oh, mate, probably fucking both, you know what I mean? Stomp. Yeah. Stomping on the tennis court through the week, stomping on the dance floor of the weekend, you know what I mean? I remember, you know, and I like training, I still train a lot, but I used to push it really hard. And I remember this one time, I was 27, and it was after a night out, and I ended up, I went to Verzachli Hospital. I didn't feel right, and I remember they wired me up to all, like, DCG and all that, you know what I mean? And I just felt like my heart was going to explode. And obviously, we'd had it every night, you know what I mean? And the doctor was like, there was all fluid around my heart. And he asked about my lifestyle, and he just said, "You're heading for a heart attack." You know what I mean? You know, I was training like a madman, I was working like a madman, and I was partying like a madman.
Yeah.
I was just burning a candle everywhere.
Recipe for disaster.
It was.
You're a ticking time bomb at that point.
But it was a blessing.
Yeah.
Because I've always, I was brought up well, and I've always listened to my own reason. You know what I mean? I've always had that sense of intuition and wisdom.
Yeah.
And I just remember saying, this, I'm done here. You know what I mean? I'm done. And I was done with the illegal activity as well. You know what I mean? And I was done with the tennis balls. So I wanted a new life. You know what I mean? I was exploring. I really wanted to. And there was something pulling me away from all of that. A friend of mine went to jail. In fact, a couple of friends of mine went to jail, and I remember being in the court the day he went to jail, and he got sentenced in the Crown Court. And I just walked out, thought, "What am I doing here? This ain't me." You know what I mean? Like I'm not jailbait, and I thought I'm not fucking. I'm a good lad here. Do you know what I mean? And I knew I had more. I knew I had something. I was destined for something great. You know what I mean? Yeah. I knew I had something to offer the world, and I just had to dig in and find out what that was. And then I took time out. Then I was turning 28, and I decided to go to Thailand. And on the 1st of January 2012, I went to Thailand, and I went on my own. I was with a couple of friends for the first couple of weeks.
You just made that decision?
I just went. Yeah, I just needed space.
Yeah.
I felt like the soul needed to rest. Yeah. And I felt like I needed space to contemplate. I wanted to step out of the label. I was sort of labelled as Mark Bowen, the tennis coach, do you know what I mean, or the party boy. And I didn't want to be sort of defined by that anymore, you know what I mean? I wanted to create something new. I wanted to try something new. And I was doing a lot of yoga at the time. You know, I was going to Yoga Nation in County Road. Yeah. And I was going with my dad and a friend of mine, Simon Langton. And I really started to, that was my new buzz. I was getting a high in the yoga class that I was getting on the dance floor under the influence of ecstasy. Yeah. So I was like, there's something in this. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that was like back in 2010. So fast forward to 2012, I've gone to Thailand, and I went from doing to being. Yeah. I just stopped doing. I wasn't governed by time. I had no one to please. I had nowhere to go. I had no responsibility, and that's where all the magic happened for me. I was just able to stop. And
how was you earning money then?
I'd saved some money at the time. Okay. You know what I mean? You know, there was definitely a few quid saved. Yeah. So it was all right. I took the leap to step away from David Lloyd. Yeah. And that was a great job. That was a £30 an hour job. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And doing 30, 40 hours a week. You do the numbers, and it was cash. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I didn't want to be defined by the money, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to just be, I didn't want to be a slave to it. Mm. And I didn't have a very healthy relationship with money for many years. And so I'd had a few quid saved, and then I went. And it was great. Probably one of the best decisions I ever made. Yeah. And it was just 3 months of just non-doing, relaxation, contemplation. I was reviewing my life, and I read my first book. I'd never read a book until then. And I read 2 books on that journey. I actually read 3. There was A Passage to Africa, I think, by a guy called George Alagaya, and that just humbled me about the genocide in Africa. Yeah, many years ago. And I remember just crying many times reading that book. It brought a lot of humility to my experience, and I started to realise maybe how fucking difficult the world is, and maybe how can I make a difference. So I remember that book, and that was a great book for me. I read a book called Bounce, and that was about human behaviour and personal development and the power of purposeful practice. And that was an eye-opener for me. And I'd been obviously in the sport arena for 10 years, so it was very much linked to a book called Outliers. Yeah. And I read another book called The Way the Spiritual Warrior. The Way the Spiritual Warrior by a guy called Dan Millman. And a bit like The Alchemist, that one, you know what I mean? Yeah. All about spirituality and consciousness and stuff like that. Yeah. There's a lot of sort of hidden gems. Yeah. And I just had this urge to sit still. I ended up in a monastery with these monks. I did about 10 days. And then, you're there, and it's very simple living, you know what I mean? You're dressed in white. There's not much stimulation. You just meditating most days, a lot of walking meditation, a lot of simple food, and there was so much divinity in that. I just started to feel like contentment and wealth and divinity, and I wasn't doing anything. Yeah. And obviously listened to the discourses, you know, by the monks at the time. And I was just like, wow, I know that. It was like what they were saying, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew inside me. It was like this natural wisdom. I thought,
Yeah.
fucking hell, I know this.
Yeah.
This is mega this, you know what I mean? And I come out of there, and that was like another initiation. You know what I mean? It was initiating.
That's big though, mate.
It was massive.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
a big experience.
I remember like sitting there, just almost, you know, you contemplate your life. How'd you get here? It was like, you know, the temple was called Wat Yu Mong actually, and it was in like it was in Chiang Mai. It was in like the forest in Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
I remember just sitting there going like, wow, how'd you get here? You know what I mean?
How did you go up? Did you have to approach the monks? Did you?
Yeah,
man,
I was staying in the old town in Chiang Mai, and I was asking one of the I remember asking the maid who owned the little bed sit at the time, and she recommended this one. And so I remember going out there one day in a little tuk-tuk, about 20 minutes, half an hour, and I got there and I said, what's the situation? She said, anyone can come, you can stay as long as you like, and you make a donation at the end. And I said, sound, I'll be back tomorrow. So that was it then. And they took me in, and like the room was like, it was a prison cell basically, you know what I mean? Like there was no mattress. It was just basically a duvet and a pillow.
Yeah.
Showers were cold, so that was my first experience of like cold showers. You know what I mean?
Cold water,
I remember my first morning. You know, the bell goes off at 4 a.m. and I'm in this fucking cold shower in the middle of Chiang Mai. You know what I mean? It's like a prison cell, and I just thought, what am I fucking doing here? You know what I mean? And then like, but I just thought, no, come on, you know, you're here.
Go with it.
Let's embrace this. You know what I mean? You know, I felt like I needed to be there, and I felt like I wanted to be there. You know.
Yeah.
So I did this journey for 10 days, and I came out of it, and I just felt different. I felt different again. You know, I was peeling back the layers, and I started to understand who I was, and really maybe what I wanted to do in my life. And not long after, I came back to Liverpool, and I was still with my partner at the time, Rhiannon. We were potentially going to go to Australia, in the January 2013, and then in that time, I was running a boot camp in Sefton Park with my mate, and it was a seasonal boot camp, and it was a great period of my life. And you know, we were doing all the strongman like years ago. It was like before like it really kicked off in Liverpool. You know, we had all the tyres, the prowlers, the sleds, and all that. Fair play to me, mate. He was just ahead of his time, you know.
Yeah.
And then we I was really like having I was having a lovely summer, and it was I remember the summer, it was boiling hot, and we were then offered the opportunity to open Planet Yoga.
How did that come about then, mate? Was you looking for it?
We weren't
or
looking for it. We were practicing yoga in Yoga Nation. I'd come back from Thailand, and I was working with Simon, and we were doing the boot camps. And I just wasn't sure. I knew we weren't going back to the tennis, but I knew I wanted to explore something. I didn't know what it was. And Simon was actually personal training in the studio, in where we've got Planet Yoga now on Smithdown Road off Langdale. He was a personal trainer at the time on one of the floors there. And the one of the whole floors, it just came available. It was a beauty salon, and it came available. And the landlord actually said to Simon, he said, why don't you do a hot yoga studio? And me and my dad, obviously, we were inspired because we were practicing a lot of hot yoga, probably 2 or 3 times a week. And I remember going home and I said, listen, there's an opportunity here. I said, maybe a hot yoga studio, South Liverpool. We knew there was nothing around there. Yeah. So we checked it out, and it was, at the time, like me and my dad, you know, we were doing the booze runs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And we were actually up to a few other things, you know what I mean, which I won't say on the camera. And you know, and I had a lot of fun with all that, and we had a lot of fun, my dad and I, and it actually really brought us together. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we were actually up for like making a bit of money, and we were up for doing something different and trying something new. So this landed on our lap. But the funny thing was, about 18 months before, my dad actually registered the name Planet Yoga Liverpool, and he left it dormant until nothing of it. So we'd almost manifested it. Yeah. And so we sort of checked out the space. We went all in with it. You know, we had some money, and we set up Planet Yoga. And then it was a 6-month journey of setting the studio up, getting all the teachers ready, getting a timetable set up, feeling into like getting ready to own a business, run a business, be the caretaker. And then we signed a 5-year lease on the 2nd of November 2012. And then we opened our doors up in the January 2013. And then, you know, the rest is history, really. We've been chocker ever since, you know what I mean? So then that gave me the opportunity to hold space then and to understand what it means to make what it means to be a caretaker, you know, to open up a space, to be consistent. You know, we were running classes 7 days a week. So you had to show up, you had to make sure the studio was tidy, you had to make sure teachers were on time. You know, we had to make sure, like, we were honouring students. Like, it was a full-on journey. And that was me then for a number of years. And but within that dynamic, I started to do a lot of yoga. So I was doing 3 hours a day. I was doing 3 hours a day. I did 3 hours a day for about 2 years. It was intense. So being on the mat was a mirror then for me to look at myself. You can't get away from yourself. And then what came with that was, you know, naturally the meditation journey. You know, I started to do some personal practice. I was feeling into a lot of different modalities at the time. And then, you know, running a yoga studio, you get all wonderful and funky people coming to the studio. So, you know, so there was not just like yoga teachers who were open-minded and open-hearted and want to talk about life and esoteric concepts and spirituality. But, you know, we were getting like people like walking through the door, astrologers, you know, shamans, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like people from all walks of life. You know, you get mediums, and so I was very much then in this world, almost like a spiritual sweet shop, diving into all kinds. So then I just went on this journey of like diving in, and I went in head first. So, you know, that was a lot of meditation. I started to do a lot of 10-day silent retreats. What
was that like for you then during that process, Martin? As you sort of awakening, if you like, to yourself. How was your experience?
It was difficult. Because you're exposing yourself and you're getting to examine parts of your character that you haven't seen. You know what I mean? So you're seeing the unseen, basically. And but I was drawn to, I was seeking. I wanted to know God. I wanted to know what, you know. I was reading a lot of spiritual books then at the time, so I was reading it in the books, and I was getting direct experience of it. And it was thick and fast, Paul, for many years. You know what I mean? I was like, I didn't realise, you know, it was only many years later when I came out, I think, wow, you've been in there and you've been heavy in it for a number of years.
Because it's not all like sunshine and rainbows, mate, which we spoke about before, you know, and unicorns, and, you know, it's all great, and, you know, it's very rarely that people get that journey, isn't it?
People put a spiritual mask on, you know what
exactly.
I mean, and think, you know, and then maybe, you know, try to live that life, and it's like, oh, I'm meditating on the third eye, and I'm doing visualization, and then the law of attraction, and that's all great. And then there's all this positivity, and you know what I mean. But really, when you're actually sitting still with yourself, that was the big one for me. Like, doing yoga each day was an incredible container, because I was getting in the body, and I was getting out the head, but sitting still. You know, my first 10-day silent retreat, sitting still. You sit still for an hour. I was doing 10 hours a day for 10 days, do you know what I mean? And then I've done 7 of them.
And I was hard enough, mate.
You know, well, you know, and in them moments, like, you're getting so much coming to you, do you know what I mean? You're having to sit with your stuff.
Sorry, mate, is there a specific point in your journey, so from like 2012-13, is there a point that you could have said, that was the point that I went bang?
That was it. 2013, I was I'd just opened up Planet Yoga. I'd just broke up with Rianne. That was a massive, you know, we'd been together 10 years. And to let someone go that you've known for 15 years was heartbreaking. So the heartache for me was intense. And I'd never felt that before. So the heartache was definitely a catalyst. I'd met someone else very quickly, which wasn't planned, a girl who walked into the studio, and she was just on her own little spiritual quest, and we just got really friendly, and we ended up having a really intense relationship for 6 months. But there was in that period of time, I'd split up with Rianne, I'd met someone else, but in the summer of 2013, I ended up having, just before that, I'd smoked DMT actually, with a few friends, and back then it wasn't really, no one really knew about DMT, you know what I mean? So I'd smoked DMT, and it was like, it blew me head, it blew me mind, because it showed me something that I'd never visually seen before, you know what I mean? Like, and it gave me an experience which was well beyond this dimension, do you know what I mean? And it's also started to confirm the feelings that I was having, that this isn't it. Do you know what I mean? There's more.
Yeah.
I've always had an intuitive pull. I've you know, an almost an intuitive knowing that there's something else there. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking for something, but I don't know what I'm looking for. Yeah. But then I remember very clearly, I was in Glastonbury, and it was a Friday night, and it was 9 o'clock, and I was watching a band called Django, and I'd been a couple of hours previously. I'd bumped into actually the lads who had been spoken DMT with a few months back, but we hadn't planned to bump into each other.
Okay.
We bumped into each other. He gave me a bag of mushrooms and I ate them. And then that was it. I had, you know, an experience at 9 o'clock on that Friday, which was, that was it. That was the game. I met God, basically, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, there was an experience where it was a near-death experience, you know, where, you know, you may have heard them stories. Your life flashes, past your eyes.
Did the ego kick in, sort of thing?
Well, what happened was my life flashed upon, you know what I mean? Okay. I got to see all massive parts of my life, like my mum and dad getting divorced, when I was a child, breaking my arm, you know, times when I was breaking up with Rihanna, like it was just, I could just see it all. But it was like in a split second.
Yeah.
But there was like this corridor, Paul, and it was the corridor of my life, and it was like my human physical body and my soul, but they were separate. And there was this corridor. Next minute, there was a break in the veil, and they just came together. And in that moment, I didn't even know what ego death was. Yeah. But I knew I was having an ego death where there was no ego, there was no perception with Martin. There was just presence. Yeah. There was a godliness. Yeah. There was an experience of oneness. Yeah. You watch them memes, you know what I mean? And the hippies go, I get it, we're all one. Well, I fucking had that one. Do you know what I mean? I had that experience.
There was anywhere to be.
It was anywhere to be. But it told me that everything that had happened in my life previously was taking me to that moment to realise that experience. And I was in floods of tears. I mean, I'd been taking drugs for 10 years, so I know what that experience felt like. This was completely different. Yeah. This was a whole... And, you know, what I've now learned, it was a Kundalini rising. You know what I mean? The chakras were open, the heart was open, and there was an experience of embodiment, godliness, you know, presence, emptiness, fullness, oneness. I was everything at the same time. Yeah. And that was it. And then that was the peak experience. Yeah. And then for the rest of the night, the synchronicities, the insights and the revelations I was getting was just something I'd never, ever experienced. I'd had revelations through my 20s, you know, on the dance floor, but this was just a whole new ball game. So then it was like, wow. So then I went on a whole journey with psychedelics. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was drinking ayahuasca then, you know, not long after a shaman came into Planet Yoga, and I was, you know, we were drinking ayahuasca, you know what I mean, in Planet Yoga. Yeah. So we were having, like, you know, ceremonies, you know.
And what were them experiences like?
Incredible. Yeah. You know, I remember my first ceremony, and, you know, a beautiful man, Don Roberto, who's initiated into a tribe called the Shipibo tribe, and he'd been travelling the world. Beautiful man, you know, sat with the medicine hundreds of times, but his intention was to heal and to serve and to hold space, you know, with the medicine. And so I then started to drink ayahuasca, and you know, he'd come over. He'd travel the world, so he'd come over. He'd stay in my house. Yeah. So, you know, I'm like, I've got this guy who travels the world, who's initiated into this tribe, and we're sitting off watching fucking This Morning. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like having a buzz with each other. And like, I'm getting to know about his life, he's getting to know about mine, and that was initiating. Yeah. You know what I mean? That was, you know, to actually float with people and to have some conversations and to hold space and to look after and be looked after. It was incredible. You know what I mean? And then sitting in them ceremonies and drinking that medicine and being with that intelligence, then that was just a whole new ball game. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there was a lot of healing that was going on. I was struggling with my mum at the time, and I remember one experience, it put me back in my mother's womb. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you can't necessarily explain these things to people. You've only just got to have direct experience. You know what I mean? And there's one thing I can't deny is my direct experience. Yeah. So I've tasted the fruit of not just psychedelics, but 10-day silent retreats, you know, deep contemplation, embodiment yoga, and everything and everything else that come with it. You know what I mean? You know, even all them times on the dance floor, I was just connecting to God. I was connecting to me joy, because in them moments I didn't realise I was present. I wasn't in the mind. I wasn't thinking about the future. I wasn't dramatising. I wasn't stressing or worrying. I was actually just there. I was thoughtless. I was in the body. I was in my joy. And we say that, enjoying myself. So I was in the power of the now moments. And I didn't realise it at the time. You know what I mean? But I always kept going back to the dance floor, because that's where I felt at home. Home is where the heart is, you know what I mean? That's where I felt godly. And so I just changed the dance floor, you know, for the yoga, for the meditation. And obviously, you know, and then for many years there was then the ayahuasca journey, do you know what I mean? And, you know, Don Roberto, he came back every year, you know, and we do like 3-day retreats, you know, so we drink Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. And then there was more, you know, there was more silent meditation. And then in 2015, a guy walked through the door, and his name was Craig White. You know, so I've been on this like massive journey from almost like, I suppose, if you want to say 2012, when I first went to Thailand, to like 2015, to, you know, and there was just this like, I was in it. I was reading all the books. I read a book every week for like 2 years. You know what I mean? I listened to a podcast every day. I used to listen to this podcast by a guy called Rick Archer, and he's in the States. And it was Buddha at the gas pump, and it was just all matters related to awakening, consciousness, spirituality. And I did a podcast every day, and he interviewed the big guns, Eckhart Tolle, Aji Shanti, Muji. You know, he was having conversations with, you know, the big fellas. You know what I mean?
I feel like you're rattling off where I'm at the minute. I was a book a week and a podcast a day,
sponging it. I was taking it all in,
loving the information,
loving it. But then I was applying the information. This is the thing. I was applying it into my life. And then again, Craig White walked into the studio, and we just hit it off. And that's where the menswear came in then, you know what I mean? And he, to be fair, when I look back now, he's probably been the one true mentor for me. You know what I mean? You know, I've had incredible men in my life, including my father, including my grandparents, you know, and including all my friends and all the tennis coaches and anyone else I've ever come across. But Craig White was the man. He came in and he's seen me. He's seen me potential. And, you know, we started just sitting in some circles of men. You know, there was a lot of lads at the time who were getting into this type of stuff, you know, stuff that you're leaning into. And then, and I was meant to be going to India with my new partner at the time, Angela, and we were going to go and do a lot of Kundalini. We were going to Amritsar, and then it didn't happen, and I was being pulled towards Mexico. And long story short, Craig was on this teacher training course in Mexico. It's the Vedanta school, and it was solely a meditation school. You know what I mean? And I was so inspired by this practice. I wanted to go deeper. I was still feeling and searching and seeking. And I was offered a space. I should never have been given a space. It was fully booked. There's waiting list for years, and they only do this one teacher training course, and 33 people get on it. I should never have got on it, but I did. And I feel like that was just divine intervention. You know what I mean? I feel like it was consciousness. Like, you need to be here. This is your path. I always remember this one meditation many years ago when I was back with Rianne, and I just sat there, and it told me that I was gonna like run a meditation school, and I was like, fucking hell, that was mad, that. And then fast forward to where I am now, and it was almost like I just had that insight many years ago. So then I spent 90 days in the meditation school, and, you know, so there was more, you know, every day there was a structure, there was lectures, and I was under the influence of incredible teachers, mostly male teachers, mostly like who'd been on a huge journey. Like our main teacher, you know, he'd been a sadhu, you know what I mean? So he's been sitting in the mountains, in the caves in India, you know what I mean? And he'd also, he's from Romania, and he'd been in jail in Romania, you know, trying to teach people meditation like many, many years ago. This guy's like been there, done it, you know what I mean? And he was the main teacher, and so his transmission alone, like it, just being in his presence was like, it was godly, you know what I mean? He was just there. it was like it was the presence of a king.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
like fucking hell, this fella, like you could feel it off him, but it was a constant transmission. And then that whole journey of waking up every morning. When I lived there, I used to live in this beautiful space just across the school. And every single morning, I'd go down to the sea, and it was right on the Pacific coast in a place called Mazunte, in a district called Oaxaca, very wild.
Yeah.
And I'd get in the water every morning. I'd get in naked, and I'd watch the sun rise out the water. And it was just initiating every day.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was being baptized by the water. I felt like I was changing as a man. I felt like I was coming into manhood.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to sit with, you know, the men in our school, and we set up a men's group each week. So I was doing the school, I had all the lectures, but we were doing men's work as well. So I was just doing work every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 6 days a week. And that was for 3 months, Paul. You know what I mean?
Sometimes, like, on your journey, mate, did it ever come to a point where, you know, we spoke about it in the past, me and you, mate, where it is, because for me, certainly, it becomes a tick list.
Yeah.
Like, I do that, and sometimes I'm not enjoying it because you're really busy, but you're ticking off all these things like meditation, cold water, you know what I mean, motivational video, podcast, every single day. Did it ever become like that for you?
It did around 2018.
Yeah.
So I'll get there in a minute. You know, I think having that experience in Mexico, and just being around that community.
Yeah.
The community was conscious. They were present. There was an aliveness there. There was an open-heartedness there, and there was no bullshit either. Everyone fucking spoke the truth, and it was like, wow, this is powerful. So and then I went to Guatemala, and I spent about a month in Guatemala before I came home. I came home January the 1st, 2017, and Ange and I were together, and we stayed together, and then we had a child. You know, not long after she fell pregnant, and then that was a whole new journey. But then within that process of her pregnancy, you know, we were doing a lot of Kundalini yoga, and just trained in Kundalini. And then another beautiful man who's probably my second mentor, who taught me for a whole year, was a guy called Benjamin, and very, very well respected Kundalini and musician around the world. He's actually played music for Muji. And just a serious fucking geezer, but he was a rasterer. He was a rasterer heart, you know what I mean? So he sort of dived into that energy in his past. And there was a lot of resonance, beautiful man, a lot of integrity. And this guy was a king. Yeah. He was a lion, you know what I mean? And we held a Kundalini teacher training course in our house for a year. So then I'd just come out of like a 500-hour teacher training course. I've been doing all this meditation, all these psychedelics and all this self-development, and then I ended up doing a year of Kundalini, you know what I mean? And then we had the child, so it was just, mate, I was just still in it, you know what I mean? I was just still in it. But then at the same time, I started to understand that people wanted the meditation. There was a hunger for it, you know what I mean? And I think from my perspective, there was just a misconception. People just, people just think it's a certain thing, you know what I mean? And I brought all of my direct experience and the teachings. So I've kept the teachings classical, you know what I mean? What I teach comes from Vedanta, earliest known scripture, but I've just put it in Scouse terms.
Yeah.
I put it in my own unique blend, you know what I mean? And then I remember when I opened up the yoga studio in 2013, and we were full. So it just showed me that everyone was ready for this. Everyone was ready for the yoga. You know what I mean? There was yoga going on, but like there was waves of people who wanted to improve. And then I set up the meditation. I was teaching them a few meditation classes at first, but I thought, I'm just hypnotizing people here.
Yeah.
I'm not teaching people. And I knew I had a lot of information to share. And so I thought, I'm going to educate people instead. So I set up, obviously, then the course for life, level 1 course for life. And it was a 10-hour process. And then that's just become my like main line of work, you know what I mean? And so fast forward now, we're in 2021, and I've probably taught about 5,000 people in person in Liverpool alone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's other courses. There's level 2, there's level 3, there's level 4. So there's an ecosystem of mastery now.
Yeah.
And this is just all my life's work and life's experiences in a methodology you know, to the common average man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Who are looking for something. Who are looking for purpose.
Yeah.
They're actually looking for purpose and connection.
Yeah.
They're the main two. You know what I mean? And they're looking for themselves, actually. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I've just put it in a method, in a systematic approach, which is simple, easy to digest and easy to follow. So then I just stepped back into that teacher role, you know what I mean? And I've been in that role ever since. I've been holding the space. And then around, obviously, you know, there's that time of having a child, and that whole process of being a father, you know, and then holding space for now, men without masks. But coming back to the question you just, you know, asked before, I always had the morning routine. I always like going to the gym and meditating. But in 2016, I came across the term the ultimate morning. I think it was like Tony Robbins or something.
Yeah.
And it was the 5 a.m. club. So it was like, I was like, okay, Sam, let's give this a shot. So for about 18 months, every single day, I was up at 5 a.m. and I had a stoic morning routine. And it was the same routine every day for 18 months. Now, I can't deny through that persistence, consistent, vigilant experience, my external endeavours like grew fast and expanded in every direction. But then I just softened in the end, you know what I mean? I stopped getting up at 5. I stopped ticking the boxes, basically, because it became an unconscious tick list.
Yeah.
And then I started to adopt like certainly the archetypes from the work we do with the men. And I started to really understand and embody and apply them archetypes in my life. So I wasn't just warrior driven. I wasn't just driven by a mission. I was in the lover. Yeah. So I was bringing that sensuality in there.
Because that's what the tick list is, isn't it?
That's
it's
it.
The warrior,
it's
isn't
the
it?
warrior. It's he's getting up. He's got the 5 a.m. He's fucking getting the cold shower. You know, he's training like a madman. He's meditating. You know, and for me, I was doing admin. I was getting my admin done, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But it was warrior energy, and like. And there's a massive warrior energy. I mean, we all need some. It's great if you're getting up and you're applying that warrior energy. You know what I mean? And if you've got purposeful action and you're putting it in the right places, you become a dangerous man.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But it can have a negative effect
good.
if you're using it against yourself. If
Of
you're
course.
doing things you don't want to do.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like.
And you're doing it just to tick a list.
Yeah.
To tick a list. Exactly. You're not enjoying yourself.
I mean, there's a fine line here because sometimes we need a little bit. We need things to be uncomfortable. We almost do need a tick list to give us some purpose, to give us some achievements. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And what I've come to learn through my own direct experience and the information that I continue to educate myself with is that, like, for me, it's about creating space for connection instead of just being in the warrior and ticking boxes. It's creating space. It's still expanding, but it's expanding organically, rather than like striving or forcing anything or pushing into pain.
Yeah.
There's no need to push into pain. You know what I mean? All you got to do is show up, and if you can adopt some, you know, characteristic traits and plug yourself in of a morning time in your own private moments before you reach an audience, where you're creating space for connection. By the time you reach an audience, you're in the heart. You know what I mean? You're steadfast. You're present. You know what I mean? You know your mission. You're getting shit done. You're taking action. So then life's purposeful. Yeah. And that's what men need. That's what fucking everyone needs. They want a sense of purpose. Mm-hmm. We all want a sense of getting up and something to do of a morning, or of a day, sorry. And if that doing is something that you love to do and want to do, then you've smashed it. Yeah. That's the golden ticket. You know what I mean?
It's a win-win then, isn't it?
It's a win-win. You win in your life because you're like, okay, I'm doing stuff I love to do here. You know what I mean? Every day's a holiday. I don't have to wait till Friday to get that Friday bus. You know what I mean? I don't have to wait to go to Ibiza or, you know, for the weekend for it to be my time. You know what I mean? So there's been a lot of revelations around reclaiming my sovereignty. Yeah. You know what I mean? Reclaiming, you know, my divinity. You know what I mean? But also feeling into the divinity and the simplicity. If you're okay in the mundane, that's enlightenment for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you find that sense of okayness, you know, with both sides of the coin, you're gonna, you know, there is no good or bad days. We perceive them. What's good to me is not good to somebody else. You know what I mean? It's all a perception. And this is the stuff I teach here in Liverpool. You know what I mean? So I've just started to see days as days. You know what I mean? But when you foster and disciple a sense of purpose and values and mission, then you're in flow then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that is when you can serve others from a place of authenticity, you know, whilst at the same time serving yourself.
Yeah.
I'm here to serve myself. No one else was here to serve me. No one else was sent here to get me up out of bed and wipe my ass. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm getting up of a morning, looking after me first, filling my own cup up. But my intention is to not just be myself, which is a clean, authentic mirror for other people, but then my intention is to serve others, and I do the best I can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I know I'm going to let people down, it's not my intention to let people down. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to show up and do my best.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of people who come in my direction on a daily basis, someone's going to get let down, you know, along the line. And if I've let you down and you listen to this, I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I truly am. But I know that I'm just trying to be authentic.
But isn't that their perception?
Exactly. You know what I mean? You know, that might be an expectation that Martin Bowen was going to save me, or I've heard he's a lovely fella, but he wasn't lovely to me. And it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not going to wear that mask either.
Yeah.
I'm generally do wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm a very open-hearted, smiley, grounded geezer, and I'll give you me time if I can.
Yeah.
But I can't be present with everyone all the time.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're an underlying warrior though, because we've seen you at the jits, haven't we, mate?
I mean, you know, I've always liked a tussle, you know what I mean? I like the fight on the tennis court, you know what I mean? I was a nightmare to play against. You know, I'd chase every ball down, and I was a bit of a cheat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was you know, a CUNT on the tennis court, really, you know what I mean? But I always liked that competitive edge, and I remember many years ago in Mexico, and I just realised that I was always competing with myself, and there was just tyranny in my experience, and it wasn't healthy, and I was suffering. And but what I have learned, I you know, over the last probably 18 months, I've wanted to learn a new skill, and that's why I've adopted the jits.
Yeah.
It's certainly fulfilling the needs of the embodiments,
Yeah.
you know, the physicalities to it, you know what I mean? I like getting physical. But it's allowed me, you know, to connect with new people.
Yeah.
It's allowed me to learn a new language in my own body, and it's allowed me to come at things with a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
Because you're on that mat, you've never done it before, and you're rolling lads who can roll, and you know you've it's like you got to, you know, it's physical, but it's also psychological.
Yeah.
And it's mental. So I'm loving it. I really am loving it.
Yeah. You've certainly got that competitive
you
edge,
know,
mate,
well,
haven't you? You're trying to put the belt around me neck at one point.
You know, I think, and I'm learning as well, because there's a humility with this sport, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think, you know,
it humbles you, doesn't it?
Well, the ego doesn't want to get tapped out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The ego doesn't want to get wrapped up, and then actually now I do want to get tapped out, because that's an opportunity for me to learn.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm in that place where I'm like, okay, you know what, great, we're having a softer role. You know what I mean? There's still competitiveness, but there's reverence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's not hate each other, but let's learn from each other.
Push the limits.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so when you find that fine balance, not just on the jits mat, but in life.
Yeah.
Then for me, you're going to an edge. There's a willingness to learn. You know, you're open to make mistakes and to fail, because that's your greatest teacher. It's been my greatest teacher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I see. I mean, it's just great for keeping fit. I'm all about keeping fit nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, and a sense of sustainability. I don't kill myself, but I like going to my edge. So, you know, I like getting a sweat on. I like going to the gym. You know, I do a couple of boxing sessions a week as well. So,
getting yourself ready for me.
Yeah, I might sign myself off the UFC soon. You know what I mean? Might be a new journey for me. You know what I mean? Definitely not. Not after seeing the fucking, you know, some of the injuries they come out with. But for me, it's just a sense of connection. You know, I'm not trying to go anywhere with it. You know, I'd like to think that, you know, in my future, I'd like to just almost travel around the world and get on the mat and have a roll with men. Do you know what I mean? And meet new people, and I everyone's my teacher. You know what I mean? And it's a big value of mine, is meeting new people.
Yeah, 100%.
I think life's about people.
Yeah.
Our commonality is that we're here for each other. Do you know what I mean? And when we can come together, and when we can see eye to eye, you know what I mean, and drop them competitive edges, you know what I mean? Because really, just competing with yourself.
Yeah.
And drop the guard, drop the fear. You know what I mean? And see each other, not just eye to eye, but heart to heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, we move from this individual experience to us, to we, to togetherness. You know what I mean? And then there's a healthy sort of tribal, you know, attitude then that I feel is certainly missing nowadays. You know what I mean? There's a community.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So
community, innit?
talk about meditation and, mate, obviously what you do. And obviously this is it's called the End of Stigma podcast, mate, because we're touching on mental health with people, especially men. Yeah. Obviously, because as we know, the statistics are worrying. Yeah. 80% of suicides are men. Every 4 out of 5 people jailed is a man. Yeah. So let's talk. What are the benefits of meditation, and for people that want to get involved in certain things that you're doing, mate?
I think I remember many years ago having an experience meditating where I was sitting there and I couldn't feel the body, but there was no thought processes, but I was still aware. I was like, okay, what's that? Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, there was nothing to grab onto, but there was still a sense of presence. So that was a revelation, you know what I mean, many years ago. And I think, going on them 10-day silent retreats and sitting in deep stillness, I couldn't deny the experience of deep relaxation, like contentment on a whole new level. The inner peace, like you're resting in peace, but you're resting in peace while being alive. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there was a sense of resting in peace. There was a sense of naturalness, intuitive experiences. Like I couldn't deny my experiences that I was having. And certainly when I came back from the school in Mexico, I was like, I've now got the faculties to educate people. I've been a teacher all my life, been teaching tennis. And so I started to educate people on simply what is meditation. And that education started with what it's not. Yeah. And it was like, well, people think it's about, there's this misconception, people are putting the first finger and thumb together, or the humming, you know what I mean, or it's for hippies, or it's for puffs, you know what I mean, or it's for monks and all that. Yeah. And so I just sort of changed the game, even with the language. Instead of saying meditation, I started saying, well, it's mental fitness. Let's do a bit of mental fitness, you know what I mean? So you're very much, what meditation isn't is clearing the mind. The mind clears. We drop out of the intellect when we are present with some simple technical objectives. And, through that misconception, people just get disappointed because they can't clear the mind. It's not that easy to clear the mind. So if they can't clear the mind, it's not for me, can't do it. I mean, people have just got a lack of patience as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They want everything now.
Of course they do. Everyone wants just instant gratification. Yeah. We're in a time now where everything is instant. And I mean instant, you know what I mean? Like next day delivery, Amazon Prime, you know what I mean? Like you can have what you want when you want.
You're fuming if it's not there, mate.
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel like even patience is a lost art. Yeah. It's a dying virtue, which isn't really alive in our traits anymore, you know what I mean? So what meditation does do, it anchors a lot of benefits. And there's characteristic traits that we build, so it is things like, being more patient, you know what I mean? We develop a sense of discipline, you know what I mean, and persistence, because we do get lost in the mind. So when that happens, we're drawing our attention back to a technique, basically. So that is like a flex. That's like being in the gym, but flexing the muscle. Yeah. You know what I mean? We get lost in the mind. People are lost in the mind all day, every day, psychologically overthinking, not knowing the thinking. So our job is to notice what we're thinking, is to notice when we're thinking, and then what thoughts we're entertaining. When we can notice what thoughts we're entertaining, we're able to manage our thoughts. This becomes a game changer. Yeah. You know what I mean? I use the analogy of like Jurgen Klopp. He manages a team of players, you know what I mean? But nobody was sent here to manage Martin Bone. So when I capture Martin's thought processes, I start to untangle the thought processes and manage them. And basically it's like, well, that's meaningful. That's necessary. You know what I mean? That's I can use that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's an insight. And then I look at other thoughts and go, well, that's a fantasy. You know what I mean? I'm making an assumption there. That's in the future. Yeah. I'm catastrophizing and dramatizing. So literally, you bring on your self-talk then, and you talk to yourself and you go, listen, you don't even know that to be true. You're throwing wobblers, you catastrophize, you know what I mean? Yeah. And through that positive self-talk, where you're managing yourself, when you manage your mind, you manage your life, you know what I mean? Because you actually then awaken to the present moments. Yeah. Because most people, when they get up of a morning, they think they're in life, but they're still asleep. Because we naturally tune out because of a lack of mental fitness. So we tune out. So our job is to tune back in. So is into the present moment. It's where life is. That's where it's always been. That's where it's always going to be. I'm sorry for anyone listening, but there is no future. And the past is a memory in your own mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we get into this now moment and when we take responsibility for our behaviour and actually tune back into what's going on in the present moment reality, that's where life is. That's where life is, and it always is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people live a life in their head. They live a life in projection, and they live a life for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And actually, tomorrow never arrives, because when you get to tomorrow, you're in now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's where a lot of mental health comes from now, isn't it?
It
So
is.
you talk about anxiety as projection,
That's all.
and depression is
That's
thinking
right.
about the past, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, the benefits are...
The problem is,
proof's in
Paul,
the pudding, mate, isn't
is because people don't necessarily know who they are, which is another big part of the journey with meditation, is to reveal a sense of presence. And that puts the body back in its nature. We think, we are nature, but we're not navigating from a naturalness anymore. We're navigating from a default, which is in the head. It's very much, we're in the intellect a lot more nowadays. We're living a very cerebral life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're not listening to our multi-levels of intelligence in the body first and foremost, but living a life in the head, because we're so attached to our image, which is our egoic perspectives, our personality, Martin Bone as such. The ego will do one of a few things. It will project to the future because it wants to know where it's going. It wants certainty.
Yeah.
The ego is also wanting to be acknowledged. So it's always wanting to be seen. And then the ego is always trying not to die. You know what I mean? So people are in life and they don't even know they're doing it, but they're just trying not to die. They become so good at manipulating life where they're in a comfort zone trying not to die. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what comes with that is this sense of overthinking into the future. What's next? What if this happens and what if that happens? And that psychological overthinking breeds anxiety, because what it does is it puts the body in a stressful experience, in an emergency, basically. So we're out of our nature, we're out of our naturalness. All the blood's gone to the extremities. You've switched on the sympathetic side of the nervous system, which is fight or flight, and then you're releasing cortisol, which is a stress hormone. But the problem is we're psychologically overthinking and worrying and dramatising all day, every day. So eventually the body's natural default is of a stressful one. Nothing wrong with stress, because stress is if it's acute stress, it's healthy for the body. You go to the gym, stress the body out, it's actually healthy for the nervous system. But chronic stress, that's where the silent killer is, because you're going from a state of well-being. Your body knows what to do, it knows how to heal, because it's nature. But we don't give it the opportunity to do what it does best. Because we're always in the head, we're always in the sympathetic side of the nervous system. We are stressed to fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then you're releasing cortisol all day, every day, and then the body's in non-well-being. It's in a place of dis-ease.
Yeah.
So the tension is in the body. So the body follows the mind, it follows the projection. The body thinks it's having the experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You watch nature, you watch like a an antelope and it's grazing, it's just eating grass, it's in its nature.
Yeah, it's in a moment.
Next minute, the lion comes out the bushes and chases it because it wants its din-dins, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the antelope gets away, but it has to bring on its fight or flight. Do you know what I mean? Because it's in a place of survival now. You know what I mean? So he gets away, and then 5 minutes later, the animal's grazing again. He's back in his nature. He's not looking around going, is he coming back to get me? I've seen him before. In fact, he's coming back with his mates. Shit, I better not. I can't rest now. And that's what us humans do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We get into these defaults where we're constantly overthinking. We're worrying about what other people are thinking of us. We're trying not to die. We're stressing for the future. Like it's a blend, and it's all of them things. But you can't even manage them or surrender to them if you don't capture them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So meditation's about capturing your thought processes, managing them, contemplating them, reviewing them, and then now acting in a different way instead of reacting.
Yeah.
People are just in the same shit, different day default. You know what I mean? So coming back to it, the benefits to meditation are plenty. You know what I mean? Inevitably, on the deepest level, it's going to put you back in your nature. You know what I mean? You'll feel good for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll feel great for no reason, for just coming back to your beingness.
Yeah.
We're human beings. I mean, to be or not to be, that's the question, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you come back to a sense, okay, I'm being here. I'm not doing. And stillness is a great teacher. then there's a sense of, there's an overwhelming experience of remembering. You sort of remember this. You think, I know this. It feels like home. It feels familiar.
Yeah.
But we just get so lost in the head because we're competing, because we're comparing, because we're so attached to self-image. He's got this, I need that. He said that, I'm going to say this. You know what I mean? And everyone's just fighting with each other. And it actually, and surviving. You know what I mean? No one's thriving. They're surviving. And when you're in a survival experience, you then lean into a sort of polarity of pleasure and pain. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're looking for instant gratification. So you're reaching for this, and this to give you some pleasure. You know what I mean? But what comes with the pleasure is also the pain. But no one can sit with the pain. And this is where our addictions come from. So people start then getting addicted to the pleasure. So they'll use whatever means they need to fill the gap because they feel unfulfilled.
They can't sit with it.
Yeah. So meditation for me is the cornerstone. It's the key. It's the master key. It's the Willy Wonka golden ticket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what's going to set you free from the tyranny of who? Your own yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When we get up with them on, there's no problem in the world. There's not one problem, but we perceive problems, and we're in a natural. We're in survival, and we're competing with everybody, and it takes a sense of mindfulness, presence, to capture yourself in these defaults and go, okay, wow, how long have I been in this one for, you idiot?
Yeah.
Hello, you got to wake up now, and then it takes courage. Then it takes courage to look in the mirror, going, you've been wearing a mask. You've been telling a lie. You know what I mean? You haven't been thriving, buddy. You know what I mean? And so you start like getting onto yourself then. Yeah. And then that's a whole new journey because you're seeing things about your personality which you don't want to see.
Which obviously I'm on your level 2 again. I've done your level 1, your level 2, level 3. Men without mask, back to level 2. You know what I mean? We've done all types of ceremonies together, haven't we? And I trust in you that much, Martin, you know, and the knowledge that you've got. But my experience right now, which you know about, is I've been diving deeper into the meditation and it sort of brought up things that I don't like.
Yeah.
So sometimes I struggle in my day because it's just highlighting certain parts of my shadow that I'm not comfortable with right now. So it can become hard to navigate my life.
Absolutely. You know, it can become uncomfortable. Yeah. You know, like... The benefits to the practice are immeasurable.
Immeasurable,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no denying it.
There's no denying it. You'll get instant results, but it's a long-term project because you're the project. When I realised I was the bank, I started to invest in me. And then I became a wealthy man because of the state of being I adopt. Yeah. And the mindset that I'm navigating life from, you know? And then I'm now here delivering that to other people. I've got intent. I want to see people shine. I really do. I see people on the floor, and the best part of my job is seeing people shine.
And I think that's like... amazing about you, mate, because I still capture myself in the moment like I'm doing something and I might be doing something like with PACT and like other people are doing the same thing, or you might see something that's similar and you're like, I'll capture my ego, make a judgment on that. Yeah. And I'm like, what's in me that's actually, you know, a little bit of jealousy or a bit of envy or and in someone else, but I capture it and I know that it's not right.
Ego wants to be seen.
Exactly.
Ego wants to be acknowledged. Yeah. And it's nice when we are acknowledged by the people around us. That sense of appreciation when someone says, wow, thank you for doing what you're doing. Yeah. I see what you're doing. I see you doing a great job. I see you're authentic. I see you trying your best. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's all we can do.
That's something that's not alive in you anymore. Does that ever show itself in you?
You know what? I mean, I'm in a position now where like I don't need to compete with anyone. You know what I mean? Like I'm just doing me. I'm staying in my own lane. I stick to my own methods. Do you know what I mean? I'm spinning my own plates. Yeah. And I do that well. Yeah. And I do that consistently. You know, I've never missed a class. I'm never late. I don't take the piss. You know, I'm good at what I do. So I've adopted all them attitudes that was firstly installed into me by my parents, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I see now like self-care becoming trendy. You know what I mean?
Well, self-care and high this city at the minute, isn't it? For the self-care and the well-being, it's sort of a big send at the minute. It's
unbelievable, you know what I mean? And you know, there's first. I mean, for me, this started with an incredible woman called Angela Thompson. Yeah. You know what I mean? She opened up Yoga Nation in 2009, and she brought like yoga and that wave of sort of aliveness, and then she brought the Kundalini many years later, and so she definitely gave birth. There was an inception with some sort of self-development happening there, where it was hip. Yeah, because there was yoga going on, but it was in church halls, it was in leisure centres. You know what I mean? It wasn't, but having like almost a Charlotte, a proper studio, which was up to date, which was clean, which was fun to go to. You're like, wow. You know what I mean? This is happening here. And so I'm just in a position now where I'm now seeing it. It's running through Liverpool, left, right, and centre. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we're in the age of information. The internet's playing a big role in this. You know what I mean? You don't only have to look at YouTube now. You know what I mean? It's motivational videos. You know, you're looking at Instagram. Everyone's promoting themselves, and so everyone's naturally inspiring each other.
Yeah.
But also, everyone's probably even still competing with each other. But there's also everyone's leveling up. So it's almost like, you know, it's sort of it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it is what it is. I think inevitably anyone who's holding space, they know themselves what their intention is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If your intention's clean, doesn't matter what you're doing. If you've got an intention to serve and to show up and be present, crack on.
Exactly.
And so there is a lot of wonderful things going on in Liverpool that I welcome, that I love to watch. Do you know what I mean?
I think it is really trendy at the minute, Martin, but people have got to be aware that it is the work.
Yeah.
And, you know, we spoke about psychedelics earlier before.
Yeah.
I've certainly had my fingers burnt.
Yeah.
With psychedelics. So I just want to, just for the viewers, you know, the importance of obviously doing them in a safe manner.
Yeah.
In a safe space, under the correct settings.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the likes of your ayahuasca and the mushrooms, the sacred medicine, they are to be highly respected because they're super, super powerful.
Absolutely.
The experiences they can bring on.
Yeah.
Because they can actually have an adverse effect.
Absolutely.
If done in the wrong environment, they can traumatise you.
It's going to radically shift your consciousness, Paul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are of a mindset. That's what people are in one point of view. It's called the mindset.
Yeah.
The mind is set. And so when you do maybe explore some psychedelics, it's going to, it has the capacity to blow your mind. Because that's what it will do. It will blow your mindset out the water. And then there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. There's a lot of confusion because you're like, fucking hell, who am I?
What
you know what I mean?
there?
Yeah, and it'll humble you.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been under the guidance of beautiful, respected, sincere shamans. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyone listening to this is like, it is important that if you do explore this stuff, seek out them people. Do you know what I mean? You know, there are a lot of people, like even in Liverpool now, there are a lot of people like, everyone, you know, everyone's eating mushrooms now, do you know what I mean? And it's great, because I trust actually that network, that mycelium network, that intelligence is going to wake people up, and it's going to show people who they are.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, it's, you know, people go, I had a bad trip. There is no bad trip. There is no good trip or bad trip. It's a journey, you know, and it's just showing you something, and it'll humble you.
I had a
mean?
fucking bad trip.
You know, but it you know, you can't deny that experience because it's humbled you, hasn't it?
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Mate, humbled me, got me on the path, sent me to you.
Yeah.
So
know,
it was all meant to be, you know. That's how I look at it, mate. It got me on this journey.
There's a magic, there's a consciousness which is weaving its magic all day, every day, through us all, as us all, you know what I mean? And for me, what it's doing is it's getting us back to our naturalness. It's getting us back to presence.
Yeah.
And that's why I continue to teach the meditation journey. This is it. The meditation journey is the one for me. It's a sense of learning how to be present.
Yeah.
Learn how to be here now. Learn how to be authentic in your nature. And but like having a buzz in the process, you know what I mean? You know, the stuff I teach, it's dead informal. We have a laugh.
Yeah.
And I'm giving a lot of like simple concepts for people to try out, for people to, and because the power's in the practice, you see. I just educate people, the rest is done by others. But I ain't no divvy who's just jumped off a banana boat, you know what I mean? You know, I've been at this since 2008.
Yeah, you've done the work, mate. You've been through the hard times.
And I still do the work, Paul, you know what I mean? You know, I'm not going to sit here in the ego going, well, I've done this, and this, but I truly have, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm far from finished.
Yeah.
I'm a work in progress, you know what I mean? And I always want to learn, you know, I'm probably better now than I've ever been. And so that means I'm a better man than I've ever been, you know what I mean? It takes time to become a man, it takes time to mature, but there's no destination with any of it, you know what I mean? And, you know, I was at it thick and fast, and it was for many years, and now even my growth has changed. It's a lot more subtle, you know, it's a lot more intimate. You know, because growth and personal growth is also an intimate journey. As much as, you know, you can go to yoga studios and you can go to the meditation classes and you can go and sit in your sacred ceremonies or your breath workshops, and these are all great containers. You know what I mean? But you know, people just go from fucking one sweet shop to the next sweet shop to the next sweet shop, and never actually sit with the stuff that comes up for them. Do you know what I mean? Meditation is a container for you to sit with your stuff. Do you know what I mean? When you can look at your stuff, when you can be okay with your stuff and objectify it and actually realise you are not the stuff, you know what I mean? You're something deeper than that. I mean, that's a whole new conversation. But you're able to then work with your life, you know what I mean? And you know, that's where healing happens. That's where forgiveness happens.
Yeah.
That's where you accept your darkness. We're all a mixture of light and dark.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm just of the light. My essence is of the light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Martin Bowen, he's got good traits, or perceived good traits and perceived not so good traits. I'm still doing my best. I'm still trying to tell the truth. But, every now and then Martin does take things personal. He does get triggered, you know what I mean? And he does manipulate sometimes. And that's okay. I have to love him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if I don't love him and if I deny him, he'll play out unconsciously somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I've got to love him and work with him.
Recognise him, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's like a bit of inner child work,
Yeah.
So... But I continue to do the work. I've got to do it in my own private settings, do you know what I mean? But I have got my own mentors, and, for me, stillness is the guru. You know what I mean? The meditation is the true teacher.
Absolutely.
And my job is to educate people how to do it, what it is and how to do it. Because then the practice will be your teacher, do you know what I mean? But, the work never ends, holding space for men. Being on retreat, I'm still doing the work, but I don't dramatise the work. I'm not like, I'm doing the work. It's like, okay, I'm just showing up and I'm open to learn and I'm just doing my best today.
Let's lean into that then, Martin. Let's lean into that before we wrap things up. Let's talk about Men Without Masks.
Yeah.
Which is obviously an amazing retreat that I've been a part of.
Yeah.
Certainly brought a lot up for me that needed to come up.
Yeah.
Super special. You're sharing in circles, it's sacred space, isn't it? It's safe. And it's just, it's an unbelievable experience, mate.
Yeah.
There's no denying the growth that you get when you come back.
Yeah.
It is life changing.
Yeah.
For anyone who wants to do it.
Absolutely.
So let's tell everyone a little bit more about that, mate.
So I first came across the 4 archetypes in Mexico.
Yeah.
I picked up a book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, and it was an absolute game changer for me, because I was able to untangle and decipher my personality and put it into 4 quarters, put it into a map, and they call them the archetypes, and the map was the king, the warrior, the magician, the lover. And that king, warrior, magician, lover is actually connected to the 4 pillars of existence, which is being, doing, thinking and feeling. So it's very universal. And being, doing, thinking and feeling is also connected to the elements, you know what I mean? Earth, wind, fire and water. So, and the 4, the medicine wheel, it's all connected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in simple terms, like when we split it up, there's a king within us all, there's a warrior within us all, there's a magician within us all, and there's a lover in us all. Do you know what I mean? And instead of maybe using king, warrior, magician, lover, I now like to use the terms leadership, action, transformation and connection. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes people don't even resonate with what king, warrior, magician, lover, what's he fucking talking about there, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it can put people off.
It can put people off.
People in this shit
King,
might be like,
fucking, what, like it, lad? Who are you? What are you talking? What shit are you talking? Like it? I know. You're going to get the people who are going to reject the work.
Yeah.
But, some of these people are on the floor, or they haven't got the courage to actually tell the truth and say, you know what, I fucking need that. You know what I mean? In my eyes, if every man can take ownership for his life and take responsibility. Yeah. If fucking hell, the work starts there. You do that, that'll be enough, you know what I mean? But when we certainly have a map to navigate our behaviour, you know what I mean? And to notice when our behaviour is playing out within one of them 4 quarters, like for me, I got to see it and was like, wow, I've been an overactive warrior. You know what I mean? I've been an overactive magician. You know what I mean? I've been manipulating life to suit my own needs. You know what I mean? I've been an overactive lover. You know what I mean? Like addicted to this and this, like instant pleasure. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then the king's being like underactive, like almost the weakling prince, you know what I mean? Doesn't want to create order, doesn't want to show up, doesn't want to like stand in his sovereignty, you know what I mean? So it just gave me the map to understand my behaviour and understand where I was out of tune, basically, do you know what I mean? Where wasn't I harmonious? Where wasn't I in flow? Yeah. And then so understanding that and then actually starting to apply these techniques, it became a game changer for my character and for the way I show up in the world and for my sense of integrity. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously, meeting Craig Weiss and him being so inspired by the work, we set up a way, you know, this experience, which is a 5-day experience, and it's an experience of coming together, brotherhood. It's an experience of retreating from the world. You know what I mean? You know, where you're getting away from your life. You know what I mean? You're getting away from the phone. You're getting into nature, and we create a space for men to not just be educated, but we create a safe container for them to speak the truth and to get shit out. And also we do loads of different exercises, which are all connected to that energy. You know, like on the Lover Day, we'll do loads of things which are like free flowing, you know what I mean? And sensual, and even the conversations around that and the music we play and the discourses that we have. It's all based around that energy. So you don't just get the education, but you're living it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then and then all the revelations come in one day.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so we explore them 4 archetypes, them 4 energies, them 4 powers each and every day. And then there's just like this domino effect each and every day, you know what I mean? And so to sit there and witness a man share something that he's never shared, some deep shame or guilt about something he's done in his life that he's never vocalised, but he's had that on his shoulders, and he's thought about committing suicide many times. But for someone to vocalise shame in a circle of men where the confidentiality is like on, you know, the heartbeat of the course of the retreat, of the immersion, it's a game changer, because men are conditioned not to speak. I mean, they speak in the ale houses when you've had an ale, do you know what I mean? You've had an ale, you're relaxed, and you're like, that's your mate, oh lad, you know.
Gives a lamb.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You know, you're pouring your heart out sometimes, aren't you? Especially, I know I have.
Absolutely,
on the drugs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you're on ecstasy and you're fucking pouring your heart out, I fucking love you, I've always loved you, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But this is done in a very clean way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a system to it. You know, the journey I've been on, I mean, Craig's credentials are like our next level. Do you know what I mean? Like, the fucking man's got credentials longer than my arm, you know what I mean? You know, when it comes to not just direct experience, but education on the human experience, human behaviour, psychology, the whole lot, you know what I mean? And obviously we've got, you know, Matt Gunn, who's a psychotherapist, breathwork practitioner. You know, we've got Dave Orcott, who's been a professional climber all his life, yoga teacher, you know, inspired by nature. He's a nature man. Yeah. You know, so we've got a unique blend of facilitators there who are holding space. Yeah. But the retreat itself is a journey. You know what I mean? You've got to be willing to go on this experience and to dive into yourself. But you can't not go on this experience and get the benefits. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you know, yourself, you've been on it, you've got the benefits, and you share a lot of that education in how you hold space with,
which is exactly what I'm doing, mate. Yeah,
exactly. You know, you're bringing it to people's doorstep. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, because going to retreat, sometimes people can't have, you know, they haven't got 5 days, they've got families, or they can't afford it. You know, this stuff isn't cheap. We're not doing this stuff for nothing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, these exclusive packages that we offer, then there's an exclusive price. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. There's 5 facilitators. The retreat centre, which is worth £500 million.
You've moved to a new retreat.
I mean, you know, we're in this place in Skipton. You know, things need to be paid for. Do you know what I mean? But we're there. We're not there to get paid. I'm not there to get paid. You know what I mean? I'm there to fucking hold space. Yeah. But firstly, I'm here to hold space for myself, because I get to go and retreat. You know what I mean? So I'm retreating 3 or 4 times a year, so I get to do the work and immerse myself into the work. But then I also get to hold space and explore my unique gifts and talents of yoga, embodiment, meditation through the course, and laughter and connection and presence. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I bring all them gifts to the table. And but the main thing is for me is I'm there to the best part of the job is witnessing men come home to themselves. You know, when the experience we do and the stuff we lean into is for me it's the best work I do. I love what I do here in Liverpool. You know, with the meditation and the mentorship programs and I really show up for people. But the deepest work that really touches me on such a deeper level is holding space for men. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because men are just conditioned. Yeah. They're so fucking hard. Yeah. They're hard. You know what I mean? And for many years, you know, they've been conditioned to be hard. You know what I mean? And not be soft. I mean, women are naturally more holistic. They're more soft. You know what I mean? But, you know, these mantras, men don't cry, you know what I mean? Or man up your pussy, or what's up with your lads, you know what I mean? And there's just this, like, bravado, you know what I mean? There's these masks, and really, like, we're all just like little boys inside, some of us, and we just want a little hug.
I want to be seen.
We want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to feel safe, you know what I mean? And when we can just go to that space within us and release that shame, you know what I mean? Then we actually, we come home to a sense of deep compassion and vulnerability. But vulnerability is our greatest strength, you know what I mean? And we feel like that king energy then, because you feel grounded, you feel fatherly, you feel mature, you feel ready, you feel steadfast, you want to be in the world, you've got purpose now, you know what I mean? You've done some work on yourself, you've released some of your baggage, you know, there's initiation, you can't come out of that, you come out of that retreat initiated. Different from what you go into it, you know what I mean? And it's work that we, you know, all of us hold dearly close to us, and it's here to stay. Do you know what I mean? And we're just showing up for it, and the retreat gets better every time you do it.
Absolutely, mate. We're lucky that there's such amazing work going on, aren't we? At the minute, mate, it really is incredible. The work, the journey you're on yourself, what you offer. Men Without Masks, mate, it's incredible. The likes of you, Jay, doing you Don't Walk in Silence. But is there anything you'd like to finish on, mate? Like, what should we look out for coming up for Martin Bone? Where can people find you and things like that, brother?
So, you know, for me, I honour anybody who has a willingness to try something new. Doesn't have to be Martin Bone meditation. You know what I mean? Go try something new. Go and meet some new people. Go and put yourself in a container to feel into some authenticity with others. You know, I am deeply inspired to share the information that I share around meditation. You know, no doubt. I mean, I could sit here all night sharing the messages I get from people, you know what I mean? And how the practice itself is weaving its way into people's life experiences for the benefits of coming together. And I'm deeply proud of what I offer, you know what I mean? And there's almost there is a method to it. And my flagship course is the level 1, you know what I mean? A course for life, and it's just jam-packed with great content. You know what I mean? And almost it's a toolbox, you know, you're just getting a toolkit. But actually, you already got all the tools. I'm just showing you how to use them. You know what I mean? So it's just jam-packed with a toolkit. And, you know, over the last few years, there's just been an opportunity for me to develop these courses where there's a journey for people. You know, level 1 and level 2, it's almost like it's just two halves of the same, you know, coin as such. Do you know what I mean? Level 1's almost like it's 10 hours, but it's just you're only really getting half. And then when you do level 2, you're like, okay, there's more, and you would go deeper, and then it sort of solidifies everything that you do. I mean, level 1's enough, but level 1 and 2 sort of come together. You know what I mean? But to keep people interested, you can't to get people on a 10-week commitment, you can't do it. So I say it's a 5-week commitment, so it's done over 2 days, and then you go away, you crack on, then you come back and we'll do level 2. You know what I mean? And then obviously, you know, there's the other course, which is people just want to, what I've realised, it's not just necessarily about the meditation. People just want to be with other people. People want to be in a room with like-minded people. They want to share. 100%. They want to open up. They want a sense of accountability, but they just want to be around like good souls. You know what I mean? So then, like, that's where the sort of level 3 came. It was like, I'll give you the 10-week journey, an hour a week. We come together, we meditate, we have a discussion on a certain topic or certain attitude. You know, we have a laugh, we open up a little bit. You know, it's about an hour and a half, and then bang, you're on your way. You know what I mean? And then I think there was just then a natural progression because I do a lot of coaching in Liverpool. I believe in holding space for people where people can share, and I believe in that confidentiality. But for me, it's not all about just vocalising shame and being a counsellor. For me, I honestly feel people need coaching. You know what I mean? People need direction. And through my own direct experience and through the you know, the teachers I've been inspired by, you know what I mean? You know, I've got some beautiful teachers, you know, one especially that I follow is a guy called Dr. John D. Martini, you know, and obviously you've got your Tony Robbinses and your Bob Proctors and your Jim Rohns. And so I've just sort of drawn upon you know, all different flavours of all different teachers over a period of time. What do they do? What are the highly functioning individuals doing? What's Roger Federer doing? You know what I mean? You know, what's Rafael Nadal doing? What's Cristiano Ronaldo doing? You know, what are Apple doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are the top guys doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I do a lot of one-to-one coaching, but I love the group dynamic. So we've done a mentorship course, and it's a 12-week mentorship program, and it's just an all singing, all dancing, you know, experience. I know you booked on for it. You know, September. You know, and it's a journey. That, you know what I mean? It is a journey. You know, you get tasks. You know, you get budding up systems, and it's saturated with powerful information. Yeah. And it's based upon the 4 pillars of existence: being, doing, thinking, and feeling. But we really untangle that, and it's a boss journey. We get vulnerable, we get uncomfortable as well. Yeah. And so that was sort of like the next ticket event for me, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then everyone's like, well, what's next? I'm like, oh, give us a minute.
Yeah, what's next?
I mean? Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm
ready for level 5 right now.
I mean, you know, I run a few workshops. I've got a silent immersion, which I'm going to start doing again in a beautiful space in Lancaster, you know, just slightly out the city. Yeah. One day, one night. Yeah. I've done a lot of them in Liverpool, but I haven't done them since, you know, the lockdown. I run a couple of workshops, one with Matt Gunn, especially the breathwork workshop. We're going to be running a new workshop recently, working how we're releasing anger, you know what I mean, and doing some breathwork. So like that's something to look out for. And I do a lovely embodiment workshop as well, you know, with music, candle gazing, meditation, dance, yoga, you know, all that kind of stuff. I know you've dived into that, so I love doing that as well. And I think maybe over a period of time, I'll probably set up a little retreat somewhere, you know, maybe maybe in this country or possibly abroad, you know, for a week. But it's there, you know what I mean? Like, instead of me going, what's next, it's just like, we'll just focus and do what I do best, you know what I mean? And so even me level 1, which is my first course, I love it. Yeah. I go back to that. I love teaching me level 1, you know what I mean? It's my bread and butter. That's where a lot of magic happens. And I know if people come in and do level 1 and we build that container of trust, then they'll go on a journey with me, you know what I mean? Because I have got a lot to offer. And I know that if people come and sit in their presence and they listen to what I've got to say, and then they apply these concepts and techniques in their life, you can't not grow. No. You can't, I guarantee you. I actually guarantee you. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's inevitable. You know, so it's just something that the hardest part's getting there. Yeah. You got to show up. Just come.
Well, I remember the level 1 meet, I weren't going to come.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? I was last in.
The hardest part is getting
last in, I had a seat right next to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
Bag of nerves, mate.
Yeah.
You know, it took a big step just to take the plunge. But I've never looked back.
Yes,
it's probably the best, you know, my life's grown. I've gone from strength to strength. Yeah. It's not only helped me, it's helped my family. Yeah. And it's had a ripple effect on the people around me and then the people around them.
Of course.
It really is incredible.
There's a massive ripple effect that weaves. We don't even see it. I don't see it. I do see it, but I don't really contemplate it that much. I just show up and do my best. Yeah. You know what I mean? But because when I'm done in work, I'll go home and I'll watch a bit of Netflix and have a beer and relax. Do you know what I mean? And or have a bath and I'm not thinking about all the people I'm saving and all the people. You know, like. It's like, I'm just doing me. Yeah. I'm just being myself, you know what I mean? You know, I'm not here wearing, you know, like shining the lights or wearing the big blue pizza badge going, Ray, look at me, look at the boss work I'm doing. It's just like, mate, I'm just showing up. Come and sit with me. Let's get in circle. Let me teach you what I've got to teach you. If you're in sound, if you're not in sound, it's all good. Good luck to you. You know what I mean? And let's have a buzz in the process. Yeah. Let's have a laugh. You know what I mean? Let's keep it light. Let's really like bring that playfulness into it. You know what I mean?
You are doing some incredible work.
It's good, mate.
You know what I mean?
I love it.
You're changing people's lives. You really are. You know what I mean? I do love you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, mate. I love you too. You know,
you know that, lads. I want to get you on jits, mate, to tell you.
You haven't got me yet, have you?
Not yet.
Choked it out a few times, lad, haven't I? Big fella as well, but I got you, lad, didn't I?
But we're going to wrap up now then, mate. So, Jay, have you got anything to add for Matt?
Oh, mate, I'm just in awe. And some of the things that you've said.
Never heard you so quiet, mate.
I know, mate. Some of the things that you said, Martin's really sort of like cemented and concreted a lot of the things for me that I've sort of thought about and thought, am I right in saying that? And it's concreted a lot of things and put me straight, like, do you know what I mean?
Drops pennies, mate, every time he talks.
Yeah, mate, I'm like, I get that. That's what I was sitting there like that thinking in my head, fucking hell, I'm right there. That's what it was like.
You know, I think as well, just sort of maybe finishing off this conversation as well is like, people, when a change occurs for people, they feel like they've got to maybe be spiritual. You know what I mean? So that means it's now I've got to be spiritual now. So that means I can't have a drink, or I can't eat meat, or or I can't do this, and this. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And for me, spirituality is presence. Do you know what I mean? And I was then sort of in between two camps for a bit, because I felt like I was sort of being all clean, doing yoga, meditation, and like really, leaning into that sort of world. And then next minute, I wanted to be on the dance floor with my mates having a few ales, you know what I mean? And I was like...
But the art's just being in your own camp, innit?
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
In the end, I realised that this is my life. And wherever I am and whoever I'm with, be there. And that presence, that godliness is spiritual.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So whether you're on the yoga mat or whether you're on the dance floor, just be there.
Yeah.
Be there with it. And know you're there, know your presence, and be of that essence.
Yeah.
And so, I've sort of transcended any sort of like division or camp that I feel like I need to be in. And actually I'm truly being myself.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the things also that light me up. You know what I mean? It is important we do create emotional satisfaction in our lives. I lean into things, experiences, people, that actually satisfy me on a daily basis, you know what I mean? Going to jits, I love eating out, you know what I mean? I'll go for the steam, we'll create space, I'll walk my dog, you know what I mean? I'm simple stuff, but everything I'm doing, a little coffee here, and I love to do. Yeah. Spending time with my child, hanging about with people I love, it's like...
So it's also trying things that you haven't tried before, uncomfortableness, to make sure that it doesn't serve you.
Exactly. I'm happy to dip my toe in, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes we can get in that comfort zone and go, this is me, and then not try anything else. So I am of a mind where I'm going, okay, I'm creating satisfaction in my life, but at the same time, I have got an aspiration to grow. That's part of my values. Some people don't want to look at themselves. Some people haven't got a value in self-development, so they won't invest in the meditation course. They won't read the spiritual book or what we perceive to be a spiritual book, or they won't have they won't go to the gym every day and be disciplined, or whatever, do you know what I mean? So each to their own. It's each to their own, you know what I mean? People will naturally feel into their own mini cultures. I mean, like Liverpool Football Club, it's a cult.
Of course,
it's a cult. Yeah. Everyone's in some sort of cult. Yeah. You know what I mean? And people, people go to match day. They have a high value in, going to footy. We're supporting their team. Probably being around like-minded men. And it's a great container for men to purge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if men are leaning into that and they love to do it, then they're in flow.
Do it.
Do it?
Yeah. That's
your life. That's what you know what I mean? And so it's learning how to accept everybody. Everyone is got a different set of values, different sets of priorities. And if we can accept each other in each other's indifferences, then that's where we'll come together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we've all got a different points of view. And everyone, you know what I mean? And it's like, actually, okay, I see your point of view. And I might not resonate with it, but I accept it. Because that's who you are. That's your level of conditioning. And I've got mine. You know what I mean? And good for you. Like, live and let live as such, you know what I mean? Live and let live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, brother.
Live your life. Have fun, but know you are. You know what I mean? And
let's not forget, you haven't mentioned it. Yeah. The app. Yeah. His voice is on in my house more than any others.
Tuck it in, lads. Don't have a nice time, you know what I mean? Okay, I spent a few minutes on the app. Obviously, the app was a project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I realised that, there was a lot of people coming to the meditation, and then they almost needed like that aftercare, you know what I mean? Or they needed a little bit of support. And so sometimes we do need to be guided with the meditation, or sometimes we do need to be reminded with the meditation. Yeah. And so I put this app together, and I wanted it to be everything that I've got. So it's all the tutorials, it's all the mindful techniques, it's just, it's all the deep relaxation stuff. Obviously I've got my own podcasting station, so different conversations with different people, and so the app was just an opportunity to weave my gifts into the world, because I know it works. Do you know what I mean? I really do know it works, and I know a lot of people. I've got a lovely subscription. I know a lot of people take up the app and they use it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And there's just little golden nuggets, especially in that tutorial section. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm there guiding you through a process, and you can have you can just feel, even if you just feel relaxed for a couple of minutes, and you just come home to a sense of peacefulness. But if you drill that in every day, you're relearning and teaching the body how to be what it already is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then, you know, there's like loads of tutorials, and I called it the Scouse Guru because I wanted to keep it local. You know what I mean? I'm not going to try and, like, you know, compete with, you know, all the other mindfulness apps out there, because there's massive.
Guru and PACT Chapter and all that.
Just all of them, you know what I mean? And don't, you know, some great meditation apps out there. I've subscribed to a couple. I'm using one called Waking Up by Sam Harris. Beautiful meditation teacher. Some great meditations, some great conversations, lovely insights. So, you know, I'm learning from the best as well.
Don't you listen to yourself?
Yeah, occasionally I do, you know what I mean? I think, like, I've released a few nice ones recently. There was a nice motivation one I released,
lovely one,
recently. And there's some breathwork stuff on there. But I wanted to just keep it local, you know what I mean? So I just thought, you know what, I'll just call it something punchy, something that's actually people go, Scouse Guru, I've heard of that. I'll have a go with that. And then there's probably people who go, Scouse Guru, usually think he is the wanker. And I'm just like, whatever, I'm cool with it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm cool with it, you know. But it was something just catchy at the time.
Yeah.
And it gives people to talk about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and people have got some good stuff to say about me, and some people haven't, and I'm like, all good.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it, you know. So yeah, the app's boss, it was a project. Took me about 2 years to put together. Put my heart and soul into it, and I continue to release, you know, content each month. Just another avenue for people to learn.
Yeah.
You know, because people can't come to the course, they can't commit to the courses. Some people can't afford the courses. You know what I mean? So it was like, all right, Sam, it's on an app. It costs you $5 a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, you know, $150 a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got a lot to say, so have a go with that.
Have a go with that,
you get 30 days free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sign up, have a go.
Yeah.
And then fucking leg it after 30 days if you want. You know what I mean? Like, not that bothered. Get in and have a go, listen to it. You know what I mean? There's some gems in there.
There is, mate. There is.
So yeah, you know, my true intention is to be myself. You know what I mean? Not that, and what I'm doing, I'm loving my life. You know what I mean? I'm in a lovely flow. I've got loads of authentic connections, and finishing off, I'm a father. You know what I mean? I've got a beautiful daughter, and that for me is the most beautiful. It's the most magical thing on the planet for me to father a child. You know what I mean? And I love my child dearly. She's unconditionally, she's the apple of my eye, and it's almost like, you know, wanting to make her proud as such. You know what I mean? And even putting stuff on the app, it's like, if ever it ever happens to me, well, she could listen to me. You know what I mean? I'm on the internet. Lovely. I'm there. You know what I mean? And even the Instagram stuff, you know what I mean? I'm weaving little bits of magic on Instagram every now and then, and it's all recorded. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's on there for good. So crack on, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the beauty of Instagram. I love Instagram, you know what I mean? I love seeing other people's lives, but I love being inspired by it, you know what I mean? You know, I'm not one for scrolling all the time, but I have a good look, and I follow really wonderful accounts, you know, which inspire me. So, you know, if you can use these things for the benefits of your life, then pass on. So don't get lost in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Amazing, brother.
Boss.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming on.
Thank you, fellas.
Absolute pleasure to have you, brother.
I don't even know what day it is. You know what I mean? I forgot what time it is and everything. We just got lost in the time up there, didn't we? So, Paul, thank you so much.
Honestly,
you know, it's your first one. You know, great host. Jay, lovely to meet you, mate. Lovely to see you again. And good luck for the future, fellas.
Thank you.
Boss, nice.